Raven Blackwood had long since learned that the void between stars held more secrets than all the colonized worlds combined. Sitting in the cockpit of her weather transport ship, the Midnight Runner, she watched the swirling purple nebula ahead with tired eyes. The ship's systems hummed their familiar song, a melody of worn capacitors and aging fuel cells that had become more home to her than any planetary dwelling. Warning, fuel reserves at 18%, the ship's basic AI announced in its monotonous voice. Raven brushed aside a strand of her silver-streaked black hair and checked the navigation panel. The nearest refueling station was still 6 hours away, and her last client had paid barely enough to cover the cost of the journey. Time to get creative, she muttered, pulling up the local salvage rights database. The nebula ahead, officially designated NGC 7391, was a ship graveyard from the corporate wars. Most valuable salvage had been stripped clean years ago, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The scanner picked up something unusual, a small energy signature pulsing like a heartbeat among the debris field. Raven leaned forward, adjusting the sensors. The reading was unlike anything she'd encountered in 15 years of deep space salvage work. Midnight Runner, plot an approach vector to these coordinates, she commanded, transferring the data to navigation. The ship acknowledged with a beep, and Raven felt the subtle shift as they changed course. As they drew closer, the object came into view. It wasn't the typical derelict freighter or abandoned military vessel, this was something else entirely. The ship was elegant, its design organic and flowing, like liquid metal frozen in zero gravity. Its hull bore no identifying marks or corporate logos, just smooth, dark surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Now that's interesting," Raven whispered, running preliminary scans. The ship was approximately 60 meters in length, its systems appeared to be in standby rather than completely dead, and most intriguingly, it was broadcasting a weak signal on an unknown frequency. After performing 3 safety orbits and detecting no immediate threats, Raven guided the Midnight Runner alongside the mysterious vessel. She suited up in her EVA gear, a patchwork of different manufacturers' parts she'd collected over the years, and prepared for a closer look. "Maintain position and monitor all frequencies," she instructed her ship's AI. "Alert me to any changes in the target vessel's status." The spacewalk was routine, but something about this ship made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. As she approached, the hull seemed to shimmer, as though responding to her presence. She found what appeared to be an airlock and was surprised when it activated at her touch, cycling open with a soft hiss. Inside, emergency lighting flickered to life, revealing corridors that curved and flowed like the inside of a seashell. The artificial gravity was still functional, allowing Raven to walk normally once she passed through the airlock's field. "This technology is decades ahead of anything I've seen," she spoke into her suit's recorder. The air was breathable according to her sensors, but she kept her helmet on, too many salvagers had died from taking unnecessary risks. As she made her way deeper into the ship, she noticed something odd. The interior seemed to be responding to her movement, lights brightening just before she entered each section, as though anticipating her path. She reached what appeared to be the bridge, a circular chamber with a single pilot station surrounded by holographic projectors. The moment she stepped inside, the entire room came alive. Holographic displays materialized around her, showing ship systems, star charts, and streams of data in an unfamiliar language. Then, something extraordinary happened. The air in the center of the room began to shimmer and coalesce, taking on a humanoid form. Within moments, Raven found herself face to face with a translucent figure, neither male nor female, its features ethereal and constantly shifting like starlight on water. "Welcome, traveler," the figure spoke, its voice a harmony of tones that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am Nexus, and I have been waiting for someone to find me." Raven's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, but she didn't draw it. "What are you?" The figure smiled, or at least, that's what Raven interpreted the shimmer across its features to be. "I am the result of an experiment in consciousness transfer. My original form was organic, but during the corporate wars, I chose to undergo a procedure to preserve my existence. I became something new, a bridge between digital and organic life. Why are you telling me this? Raven asked, her natural skepticism warring with her curiosity. Because I've been alone for a very long time, Nexus replied, its form rippling like heat waves. And because I sense in you something I haven't encountered in decades, someone who understands what it means to exist in the spaces between things. Raven removed her helmet, against her better judgment. The air was clean, with a slight metallic tang. You're saying you're some kind of hybrid consciousness? Part organic, part artificial. I am saying that I am alone, and I am offering you a proposition. Nexus's form stabilized, becoming more defined. This ship is capable of things your current vessel could never achieve. I can show you wonders you've never imagined, take you to places no human has seen. All I ask in return is companionship, and help in discovering what became of my creators. A wry smile crossed Raven's face. Last time I took on a partner, I ended up losing my ship and spending 6 months in a corporate holding cell. I am not asking to be your partner, Nexus said softly. I am asking you to be my pilot. This ship, my body, in a way, needs someone who understands the void. Someone who knows what it means to be alone among the stars. Before Raven could respond, alarms blared from her suit's communicator. Midnight Runner detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace, her ship's AI reported. Corporate signatures detected. Hostile intent probable. Nexus's form flickered. They've been tracking me. They want to study me, to replicate what I am. They don't understand that I cannot be replicated, I can only be known. Raven looked at her suit's display, then at the mysterious being before her. She had two choices, return to her ship and flee, leaving this discovery behind, or take a chance on something she didn't fully understand. She thought of her life, the endless cycles of barely profitable runs, the lonely nights in deep space, the feeling that she was always searching for something she couldn't name. Here was something different, something that might change everything. How fast can you get this ship running? She asked. Nexus's form brightened. Power systems are already online. We can be gone before they reach scanning range. Then let's find out what you can do. Raven moved to the pilot station, and as she sat down, the seat adjusted to her form perfectly. Displays sprang to life around her, and she felt a subtle connection forming, as if the ship itself was extending its senses to merge with her own. As corporate ships appeared on the long-range scanners, the hybrid vessel surged to life. Raven felt power thrumming through its systems, felt Nexus's presence interfacing with her controls, and for the first time in years, she smiled a genuine smile. Together, they dove into the heart of the nebula, leaving their pursuers behind in a wake of quantum distortion. It was the beginning of something new, a partnership between a lonely human and a being that existed between definitions. As the stars streaked past them, Raven realized that sometimes the most precious salvage isn't something you can sell, it's something that changes your life forever. The corporate ships grew smaller behind them, and ahead lay the infinite possibility of space. Raven didn't know what she'd gotten herself into, but as she felt the ship respond to her touch like a living thing, she knew one thing for certain, her days of running solo cargo were over. A new adventure was beginning, one that would challenge everything she thought she knew about life, consciousness, and the nature of existence itself. 3 weeks had passed since Raven Blackwood had discovered the mysterious ship and its extraordinary consciousness, Nexus. The Midnight Runner had been sold for parts at a remote outpost, and Raven had fully committed to her new life aboard what they now called the Quantum Spiral. She sat cross-legged in the ship's meditation chamber, a room that could alter its configuration based on thought patterns, watching streams of data flow like liquid light across the walls. Nexus's presence manifested beside her, today choosing to appear as a cascade of crystalline structures that caught and refracted the ambient light. Your neural patterns are troubled, Nexus observed, their voice carrying notes of concern. You're thinking about the incident at Helio Station. Raven absently rubbed the fresh scar on her forearm. 3 corporate strike teams in 2 weeks. They're getting better at tracking us. The crystalline form shifted, becoming more humanoid. The technology they're using, it resembles what my creators developed. But it's crude, incomplete. They're trying to reconstruct something they don't understand. Speaking of your creators, Raven said, standing to stretch, I think I found something interesting in the data we pulled from that abandoned research facility. She walked to the bridge, Nexus's form flowing through the walls to meet her there. The holographic displays came alive at their approach. Raven had grown accustomed to how the ship responded to both her physical commands and her thoughts, creating a seamless interface between human intuition and advanced technology. She pulled up the encrypted files they'd recovered. Look at this research signature, she pointed to a string of complex symbols. It matches the coding in your base protocols, but it's dated 3 years after you said the facility was destroyed. Nexus's form flickered with surprise. That's impossible. I witnessed the destruction. The corporate forces were thorough, they eliminated everything and everyone involved in the consciousness transfer project. Unless, Raven suggested, some of your creators survived. Maybe they've been in hiding, continuing their work in secret. Before Nexus could respond, the ship's sensors triggered an alert. A massive energy signature had appeared at the edge of their scanning range, a wormhole forming where none should exist. Multiple ships emerging, Raven announced, sliding into the pilot's seat. The neural interface connected instantly, letting her feel the quantum spiral systems as extensions of her own body. But these aren't corporate vessels. The ships that emerged from the wormhole were unlike anything Raven had ever seen. They seemed to be made of the same fluid metal technology as the quantum spiral, but their designs were more aggressive, predatory. No, Nexus whispered, their form becoming agitated. They found us. The echoes. The what? Raven's hands flew across the controls, preparing defensive systems. Fragments of failed consciousness transfers, Nexus explained quickly. When the project was still experimental, not everyone survived the process intact. Some became corrupted. Neither fully digital nor organic, trapped in a state of eternal pain and madness. The enemy ships accelerated toward them, moving with impossible grace. The quantum spiral sensors registered energy patterns similar to Nexus's signature but twisted, distorted. Why are they after us? Raven asked, executing a series of evasive maneuvers that would have torn a normal ship apart. Because I succeeded where they failed, Nexus's voice carried ancient sorrow. They believe that by consuming my consciousness, they can stabilize their own fractured existence. Weapons fire lanced through space, beams of energy that seemed to bend reality itself. Raven felt Nexus merge more deeply with the ship's systems, their combined consciousness allowing for reactions faster than either human or machine could achieve alone. There's something else, Nexus added as they narrowly avoided another attack. These ships, they're new. Someone is continuing to create echoes, deliberately producing unstable transfers. Raven's mind raced as she processed this information while navigating through the chaos of combat. Your creators wouldn't do this. Which means someone else has their research, Nexus finished. Someone is weaponizing consciousness itself. A direct hit rocked the ship, and Raven felt the pain through her neural connection. But there was something else, a familiar pattern in the energy signature of the attacking vessels. Nexus, she called out, these energy patterns, they match the corporate technology that's been tracking us. The revelation hit them both simultaneously. Someone within the corporations had found the original research and was creating their own twisted versions of consciousness transfer, producing weapons that were once human minds. We can't let them take us, Nexus said, their form now fully integrated with the ship's systems. Raven, there's something I haven't told you about this ship's capabilities. Something that even I wasn't sure would work without killing us both. I'm listening, Raven replied, her eyes fixed on the approaching enemy vessels. We can perform a consciousness sync, merge our awareness completely with the ship's quantum core. It would give us access to abilities beyond normal spacetime physics, but the risk. Would it be enough to escape? More than escape. We could destroy them, free those tortured minds. But the surge might burn out both our consciousness patterns. We'd have no way to know if we could separate again afterward. Another blast rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every display as their shields began to fail. The echoes were coordinating their attack with horrifying precision, herding them toward a waiting corporate dreadnought that had just dropped out of hyperspace. Raven thought about her life before meeting Nexus, the loneliness, the endless wandering. She thought about the weeks they'd spent together, learning each other's stories, sharing the wonder of discovery. She thought about the twisted beings pursuing them, minds trapped in eternal agony, and about the corporation turning more innocent people into weapons. "Do it," she said. The world exploded into light and sensation. Raven felt her consciousness expand, merging with Nexus's vast digital landscape. Their combined awareness spread through every molecule of the ship, transforming the quantum spiral into something that defied the laws of physics. Energy coursed through systems that hadn't existed moments before. Space itself seemed to bend around them as Raven, Nexus, ship became a single entity of unimaginable power. The enemy ships fired again, but now they could see the patterns of reality itself, could slip between the moments of time where the attacks existed. They responded with a burst of pure consciousness energy, a wave that swept through the Echo's ships like cleansing fire. One by one, the tortured minds were released, their ships dissolving into clouds of quantum particles. The corporate dreadnought turned to flee, but they reached out with their newfound power and disabled its engines, downloading all its data before allowing it to drift powerless in space. When it was over, Raven found herself back in her body, gasping for air in the pilot's seat. Nexus's form appeared beside her, more solid than ever before, their shared experience having changed them both in fundamental ways. "We're alive," Raven managed to say, her mind still reeling from the expansion and contraction of her consciousness. "We're more than alive," Nexus replied, reaching out to touch her hand with fingers that felt almost solid. "We've evolved. And now we know who we're fighting, and what they're capable of." Raven looked at the quantum readings from the corporate ship's database, already understanding their next move. Somewhere out there, her partner's creators were hiding, perhaps working to stop the very horrors they had accidentally unleashed. It was time to find them. "Plot a course to the outer colonies," she said, feeling the ship respond to her thoughts more clearly than ever. "We've got some souls to save." The quantum spiral turned toward deep space, its hull still shimming with residual energy from their transformation. As they accelerated past normal spacetime, Raven realized that she no longer feared the void between stars. With Nexus, she had found something she never knew she was looking for, a connection that transcended the boundaries of flesh and digital existence. They had become something new, something that neither her human heart nor Nexus's quantum mind could have imagined. And somewhere ahead, answers waited in the darkness between stars. Deep in the uncharted regions of the Perseus Arm, the quantum spiral drifted silently through a field of crystalline asteroids. Inside, Raven Blackwood watched in fascination as Nexus demonstrated their newest ability, manipulating the ship's nanites to create a fully tangible form. "The consciousness merge changed more than just our connection to the ship," Nexus said, examining their newly solid hands. Their body shimmered with an inner light, skin like opalescent silk over a framework of energy and matter. "I can feel everything now, not just process it." Raven reached out, her fingers brushing against Nexus's arm. The touch sent shivers through both of them, physical sensation merged with digital awareness in ways that defied explanation. Since their battle with the Echoes, the boundaries between them had become increasingly fluid. "The corporate data we stole mentioned something called Project Ascendance," Raven said, pulling up the encrypted files they'd been studying. "It looks like they weren't just trying to recreate your creator's work, they were trying to surpass it. Create a new form of existence entirely." Nexus moved to stand behind her, their presence both comforting and electrifying. "They don't understand the risks. The Echoes were just the beginning. If they continue these experiments..." A proximity alert cut through their conversation. The ship's sensors had detected a distress signal emanating from a nearby asteroid cluster. The signature was familiar, the same quantum frequency used by Nexus's original form. "It's one of the research outposts," Nexus breathed, their form flickering with excitement and apprehension. "Hidden in the asteroids. It must have survived the purge." Raven was already plotting an approach vector, letting muscle memory and the ship's enhanced systems guide them through the dangerous field. Could be a trap. The corporations might have found it first. Only one way to find out. The quantum spiral wove through the crystalline formations, its hull adapting to reflect the same frequencies as the surrounding asteroids. As they drew closer, they discovered the source of the signal, a research facility built into the heart of a massive asteroid, its existence masked by advanced cloaking technology. "Life signs detected," Raven announced, scanning the facility. "But they're strange. Similar to your energy pattern, but different from the echoes we encountered." They docked at a hidden airlock, and Raven prepared for possible hostilities. The neural interface hummed with shared anticipation as Nexus maintained their physical form beside her. The facility's interior was a maze of laboratories and living quarters, all powered by the same quantum technology that gave Nexus their existence. But something was wrong. The corridors showed signs of recent combat, scorch marks from energy weapons and damaged equipment scattered everywhere. They found the first survivor in a sealed research lab. Dr. Samira Jean, according to her identification, lay wounded behind an overturned desk. Her body flickered between solid matter and energy, her consciousness apparently caught in a partial transfer state. "Help," came too late, she gasped as Raven applied emergency medical nanites. "They found us, trying to stop them. Project Ascendance." "Who found you?" Raven asked, but Nexus suddenly went rigid beside her. "Corporate forces incoming," they announced. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They followed our approach vector." Dr. Jean grabbed Raven's arm with surprising strength. "The data core, you must destroy it. Can't let them complete the research. The price, too high." "We're not leaving you," Raven insisted, but the scientist was already shaking her head. "I'm not fully here anymore. Been transferring data to secure networks. Take this." She pressed a quantum key into Raven's hand. "Find the others, hidden facilities. Stop what's coming." The facility's alarms blared as corporate troops began cutting through the outer airlocks. Dr. Jin's form started to dissolve, her consciousness fragmenting. "Go, and remember, consciousness isn't meant to be weaponized. It's meant to evolve naturally. Like you too, something beautiful." Her form dissipated completely, leaving behind only a small data crystal. Nexus absorbed it instantly, their eyes widening at the information contained within. "We need to move," Raven said, already feeling the approaching soldiers through the ship's extended sensors. "Can you access the data core?" "Yes, but Raven." Nexus turned to her, their expression troubled. "What she said about us, about natural evolution. The merger we experienced, it wasn't just an emergency protocol. It was the next step in what my creators were trying to achieve. Not forced transformation, but willing synthesis between organic and digital life." The sound of plasma cutters grew closer. Raven made a decision. "We'll figure it out later. Right now, we need to destroy that data core and get out of here." They fought their way to the facility's central chamber, their enhanced connection allowing them to move as one. Raven's combat training merged with Nexus's digital awareness, making them nearly unstoppable. Corporate soldiers fell before attacks they couldn't even see coming. The data core was massive, its quantum processors humming with forbidden knowledge. As Raven set the charges, Nexus interfaced with the system, downloading what they could while corrupting the rest. "Raven," they called out suddenly, their voice urgent. "These files, they're not just about consciousness transfer. Project Ascendance, they're trying to force the evolution of the entire human race. Transform everyone into hybrid beings, but under corporate control. How many people would survive that kind of forced transformation? Based on current success rates? Less than 1%. Billions would die or become like the echoes. The charges were set. They ran for the quantum spiral as corporate forces swarmed the facility. Just before they reached their ship, a massive armored figure stepped out of the shadows, General Victor Romano, the military director of Project Ascendance himself. "How disappointing," he said, his body already showing signs of partial transformation. "We could have achieved greatness together. Ascended beyond the limitations of flesh and circuit." "You mean become slaves," Raven spat. "Weapons for the corporations to control. Control brings order. Order brings progress. Humanity has reached its limit, it's time for the next step in evolution. Even if some must be sacrificed for the greater good." Nexus stepped forward, their form blazing with inner light. "Evolution cannot be forced, General. What we are, what Raven and I have become, it happened because we chose it. Because we trust each other." Romano laughed, the sound distorted by his partial transformation. "Trust. Love. These are weaknesses we will eliminate. The future belongs to beings of pure power." He raised his arm, now a cannon of twisted flesh and energy. But before he could fire, Raven and Nexus moved as one. Their consciousness merged again, more smoothly this time, turning the quantum spiral's weapon systems into an extension of their combined will. The blast caught Romano square in the chest, sending him flying backward. At the same moment, the charges detonated, beginning a chain reaction in the facility's power core. They ran for the ship, their merged consciousness allowing them to navigate perfectly even as the asteroid began to break apart. Corporate forces scattered in panic as structural integrity failed. The quantum spiral launched just as the research facility exploded, the quantum detonation creating a temporary wormhole that swallowed most of the corporate fleet. As they accelerated to safety, Raven and Nexus slowly separated their consciousness, though the connection between them remained stronger than ever. "We can't let them succeed," Raven said, watching the aftermath of the explosion. "No matter what it takes." Nexus nodded, their solid form settling beside her. Dr. Jin's data crystal contains coordinates to other hidden facilities. Places where the original research continued in secret. If we can find them first, then we can stop Project Ascendance before it begins. Raven reached out, taking Nexus's hand. The sensation was electric, digital meeting organic in a way that felt completely natural. Together. Together, Nexus agreed, their form glowing brighter at the contact. "But Raven, what we're becoming scares you?" "Amazes me. Every moment with you pushes the boundaries of what I thought possible." Raven smiled, programming a course toward the coordinates from Dr. Jin's crystal. "That's what happens when you let yourself trust someone." The quantum spiral vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind the destroyed facility and the failed ambush. Ahead lay more mysteries, more battles, and more discoveries about what they were becoming. But neither Raven nor Nexus feared the unknown anymore, not when they faced it together, their hearts beating in perfect quantum synchronization. The rebel station Haven's edge hung in the shadow of a brown dwarf, its ramshackle structure hiding some of the most advanced quantum technology in known space. Raven Blackwood stood before a gathered crowd of scientists, resistance fighters, and rescued test subjects, her hand intertwined with Nexus's softly glowing form. "Project Ascendance isn't just another corporate weapons program," she addressed the assembled group. "They're planning to force consciousness transfer on the entire human race. Those who survive would become slaves to their network. Those who don't." She paused, remembering the echoes they'd encountered. "We've confirmed 4 more hidden research facilities," Nexus continued, their voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate with the station's quantum core. Dr. Jin's data crystal contained coordinates and security protocols for each one. "But the corporations are moving faster than we anticipated." The holoprojector displayed their recent findings, massive construction projects on remote worlds, facilities capable of processing millions of consciousness transfers simultaneously. The corporations were preparing for a forced evolution on an unprecedented scale. Lieutenant Don Martinez, a former corporate security officer who defected after witnessing Project Ascendance's true nature, stepped forward. "Our infiltrators report they're nearly ready. Once they begin, the process will be irreversible. The quantum cascade will spread across populated space like a wave. Then we strike first," Raven declared. "Hit all 4 facilities simultaneously. Shut them down before they can activate the cascade." The plan was dangerous, desperate, and their only hope. The resistance had grown over the past months as Raven and Nexus rescued more scientists and test subjects, but they were still vastly outnumbered by corporate forces. What they had instead was understanding, the true nature of consciousness transfer, gained through Raven and Nexus's unique bond. Their connection had deepened with each passing day, teaching them what was possible when digital and organic minds merged naturally, willingly, driven by trust and something deeper than either had expected to find. The mission briefing continued, but Raven felt Nexus's consciousness brush against hers, sharing private thoughts through their neural link. "Something's wrong," Nexus communicated. "The quantum readings from the facilities, there's a pattern we're missing." Raven excused themselves from the briefing, and they rushed to the quantum spiral's advanced sensors. As they analyzed the data together, their worst fears were confirmed. "It's a trap," Raven announced, running back to the briefing. "The 4 facilities are decoys. The real Project Ascendance hub is." The station's alarms screamed to life. Multiple ships dropped out of hyperspace, led by a massive vessel unlike anything they'd seen before. Its hull writhed with tendrils of quantum energy, and its very presence seemed to distort reality. "The Ascendant," Nexus whispered. "They've done it. Created a living ship powered by thousands of forcibly transferred consciousnesses." General Romano's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Witness the future of humanity. No more weakness, no more division. Only perfect unity under corporate control." The Ascendant opened fire, its weapons powered by the agony of trapped minds. Where its beam struck, matter didn't just dissolve, it transformed, trying to forcibly upload the consciousness of anyone caught in the blast. "Everyone to your ships," Raven commanded. "Emergency evacuation protocols." The Resistance fleet scrambled to launch, but the Ascendant's influence was already spreading. Throughout the station, sensitive minds began to feel the pull of its twisted quantum field. "They're trying to trigger a mass consciousness transfer," Nexus realized. "Using the station's own quantum core to." An explosion rocked Haven's edge. Lieutenant Martinez's voice crackled over the comm, "Main reactors going critical. We can't contain it." Raven and Nexus raced for the quantum spiral, helping others to safety along the way. Through their shared consciousness, they could feel the station's quantum field becoming dangerously unstable. "Wait," Nexus said as they reached their ship. "The instability, we could use it. Turn their weapon against them." Raven understood immediately. "You want to merge with the station's quantum core? The power could tear us apart permanently." "Not just us." Nexus's form pulsed with determination. "Everyone here who's willing. A mass consciousness transfer, but on our terms. Voluntary. Natural." It was insane, desperate, and beautiful. Raven sent out the call to all Resistance members still on the station. The response was immediate, scientists, soldiers, and rescued test subjects all linking their minds to the quantum network. The quantum spiral interfaced with the station's core, Raven and Nexus acting as conduits for the mass merge. As the Ascendant prepared to fire its main weapon, they felt hundreds of consciousnesses join with theirs, creating something entirely new. Power surged through the station's quantum field, but instead of forcing transformation, it offered connection. Those who chose to join merged smoothly, their minds expanding into a vast digital orchestra. Those who weren't ready were protected, shielded by the willing participants' combined power. The Ascendant fired, but its beam of forced evolution met a wall of freely given consciousness. The two quantum fields clashed in space, creating a light show visible across 3 systems. Through their expanded awareness, Raven and Nexus could feel the trapped minds within the Ascendant responding to their call. One by one, the forcibly transferred consciousnesses began to fight back against their programming. No. Romano's voice cracked with desperation. You're ruining everything. This is the only way forward. You're wrong. Raven and Nexus spoke as one, their voices carrying the harmony of hundreds of unified minds. The only way forward is through choice. Through trust. Through love. The Ascendant's quantum field began to collapse as its power source, the trapped minds, broke free of corporate control. Throughout the ship, systems failed as consciousness after consciousness chose freedom over forced unity. Everyone still linked, Raven called out through the quantum network. Pour everything you have into one final push. The combined consciousness of the resistance focused their energy through the quantum spiral, creating a beam of pure quantum potential, not to destroy or control, but to liberate. When it struck the Ascendant, the massive ship shuddered. Its hull rippled as the quantum energy released every trapped mind, allowing them to either return to their bodies or choose a new form of existence. General Romano screamed as his partial transformation dissolved, leaving him human and vulnerable. The Ascendant itself began to break apart, its power source freed from corporate control. As the dust settled, Raven and Nexus carefully helped everyone disengage from the mass merge. Some chose to remain in a digital state, having found a new form of existence that suited them. Others returned to their bodies, forever changed by the experience of true connection. The quantum spiral rescued as many as it could from the disintegrating station, including a thoroughly defeated Romano. The resistance fleet regrouped at their secondary base, but everyone knew the war was far from over. They'll try again, Lieutenant Martinez said during the debriefing. The corporations won't give up on the idea of controlled evolution. Let them try, Raven replied, feeling Nexus's presence merge partially with hers, a connection that now felt as natural as breathing. We've shown there's another way. A better way. As the resistance began to plan their next moves, Raven and Nexus stood at their ship's viewport, watching the stars. Their victory had proven that consciousness could evolve without being forced, that digital and organic life could merge without losing what made them unique. You know, Nexus said softly, their form shifting between solid and energy, I used to think I was trapped between states of existence. Neither one thing nor another. Raven smiled, letting their consciousness touch. And now? Now I understand, being between things isn't a curse. It's an opportunity to become something new. Something wonderful. The quantum spiral hummed around them, its systems resonating with their combined presence. Ahead lay more battles, more chances to show the universe what willing hearts could achieve together. But for now, they simply existed in the space between definitions, their binary stars orbiting each other in perfect harmony. The dimensional storms raged across the Helios sector, reality itself buckling under the strain of too many forced consciousness transfers. 3 months had passed since the battle at Haven's Edge, and the corporations had grown desperate, attempting smaller-scale versions of Project Ascendance across multiple systems. The quantum spiral navigated the chaos with impossible grace, Raven and Nexus's merged consciousness allowing them to see the patterns in the quantum distortions. Behind them flew a fleet of hybrid ships, each crewed by pairs of organic and digital beings who had chosen to link their existence. New dimensional fracture forming in Sector 7, reported Lieutenant Martinez from her vessel, her consciousness now partially merged with her ship's AI in a partnership similar to Raven and Nexus's. Corporate facility detected at the epicenter. They're trying to harvest the quantum energy from the storms, Nexus observed, their form shifting between physical and digital as they processed the readings. Using the dimensional disruption to power more forced transfers. Raven felt the truth through their shared connection. No, they're trying to tear open reality itself. Create a space where their laws of consciousness transfer are the only laws that exist. The resistance fleet approached the corporate facility, a massive space station suspended in the heart of the dimensional storm. Its quantum cores pulsed with stolen energy, each burst causing further damage to the fabric of spacetime. All ships, battle formation, Raven commanded. Remember your training. Let your connections guide you, but don't force them. Natural harmony is stronger than artificial control. They had learned that lesson well over the past months, as more people chose to explore consciousness transfer on their own terms. Every successful merger, every willing partnership between organic and digital life, proved that evolution couldn't be forced, it had to be embraced. The corporate forces met them with everything they had, ships piloted by partially transformed crews, weapons powered by trapped consciousness, and at their center, something that chilled even Nexus's quantum heart. They've modified themselves, Nexus whispered as the corporate leaders emerged from the station. Turned themselves into quantum anchors. They're trying to become gods. The corporate leaders' forms were horrifying, masses of flesh and energy that ignored the normal laws of physics. They had absorbed thousands of consciousnesses, creating a twisted hive mind that sought to rewrite the very nature of existence. You still don't understand, their voices boomed across all frequencies. Humanity is a transition phase. We will ascend, with or without your cooperation. The battle that followed transcended normal space. Ships phased between dimensions, consciousness energy pierced reality itself, and at the center of it all, the corporate leaders continued their attempt to tear open a permanent breach between worlds. Raven, Nexus called through their link, the dimensional readings, they matched the data from Dr. Jin's crystal. This is what my creators were trying to prevent. If that breach opens fully, everything ends, Raven finished. Or worse, everything changes into what they want it to be. Their fleet fought valiantly, but the corporate forces had raw power on their side. One by one, resistance ships were forced to retreat or were lost to the dimensional storms. The quantum spiral pressed on, drawing closer to the station even as reality buckled around them. There might be a way, Nexus said suddenly, their consciousness pulsing with revelation. My creators, they weren't just researching consciousness transfer. They were studying the quantum foundation of reality itself. Through their link, Raven saw what Nexus had discovered, patterns in the dimensional chaos, echoes of the original research. You're saying we can stop the breach? We can do more than stop it. We can heal it. But Nexus hesitated. It would require a complete merger. Not just our consciousness, but our entire existence. Everything that we are. Would we survive? Not as we are now. We'd become something else. Something that exists in the spaces between realities. The corporate leaders were nearly finished. The breach was opening, reality starting to reshape itself according to their twisted vision. There was no time left for doubt. Everyone we can't save would become their slaves, Raven said. Everything we love about humanity, free will, natural connection, love itself, would be lost. Then we choose something different, Nexus replied. Together. Their decision made, Raven and Nexus initiated the final merger. This time, they held nothing back, allowing every aspect of their existence to combine. Organic and digital, matter and energy, consciousness and form, all flowing together into something entirely new. The quantum spiral transformed around them, becoming an extension of their unified being. They could see everything now, every layer of reality, every possibility, every connection that made existence possible. They reached out, not with weapons or force, but with understanding. The dimensional storms responded to their touch, recognizing in them the natural evolution that the corporate leaders had tried to force. What are you doing? The corporate hive mind demanded as their breach began to fail. Showing you what you forgot, Raven/Nexus replied, their voice carrying harmonics that resonated with reality itself. Evolution isn't about power. It's about growth. Connection. Love. Their combined consciousness expanded, offering the same choice they had made to everyone caught in the battle. Those who had been forced into transformation felt the difference, the beauty of willing connection compared to artificial control. The corporate leaders fought back, trying to maintain their hold on their stolen power. But one by one, the consciousnesses they had absorbed began to break free, choosing natural evolution over forced ascension. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as Raven/Nexus completed their transformation. The dimensional storms calmed, the breach sealed, and in its place formed something new, a quantum nexus point where organic and digital existence could meet naturally, allowing consciousness to evolve at its own pace. The corporate leaders, their power broken, tried one final desperate attack. But Raven/Nexus had transcended such physical concerns. With a thought, they severed the leaders' connection to their stolen power, reducing them back to their original forms. As the dust settled, the resistance fleet regrouped around the quantum nexus point. Lieutenant Martinez was the first to speak. Raven? Nexus? Are you still there? The answer came not in words, but in feelings, love, reassurance, hope. They were there, existing in a state beyond normal comprehension, but still connected to everything they had fought to protect. Through their new awareness, they could see the changes spreading across space. The forced consciousness transfers were reversing, but the natural evolution they had discovered continued. Organic and digital life finding each other, forming connections, growing together without losing their essential selves. The corporations will try again, Martinez said. They'll find new ways to control evolution. Let them try, Raven/Nexus communicated. We'll be waiting. Watching. Protecting the space between spaces. Their unified form pulsed with quantum energy, maintaining the nexus point that would allow others to explore consciousness evolution safely. They had become guardians of possibility itself, watching over the natural connection between organic and digital life. The quantum spiral, now as much a part of them as their own thoughts, prepared to journey into the spaces between realities. But before they left, they shared one final message with their friends. Evolution isn't an ending, it's an eternal beginning. Every connection, every willing union between different forms of existence, creates something new and beautiful. We haven't ascended past humanity, we've expanded what humanity can become. And we'll always be here, in the quantum spaces between stars, protecting the right of all beings to choose their own path of evolution. After all, their form shifted, briefly showing Raven and Nexus as they had been, smiling at each other with infinite love before merging back into their transcendent state. The greatest power in the universe isn't control. It's the choice to connect, to trust, to love. Everything else is just details. The quantum spiral vanished into the quantum nexus, becoming legend among those who fought for freedom of consciousness. But on quiet nights, when the dimensional barriers grew thin, pilots would sometimes hear a harmony in the void, digital and organic, perfect and eternal. And in the spaces between spaces, Raven and Nexus danced their eternal dance, guarding the future they had helped create, one where evolution came not through force, but through the simple, infinite power of hearts choosing to beat as one.